Good morning, Chair Hussey, members of the board. I've admitted everyone from the lobby and we are now recording.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It is September 18th, and this is meeting of the Agricultural Labor Relations Board. I do want to check, I know our staff was looking at getting interpreter. Do we have an interpreter in the Zoom?
I don't believe we do allow offline message site right now to confirm that.
Okay, I have limited ability to see, so if they do come online, let us know. And that way we can do the language option. So first we will go through the roll. Board Member Broad.
Present.
Board Member Flores.
Present.
Board Member Hall.
Present.
Thank you. Board Member Lightstone.
Present.
Also present is our staff today, and we have our Executive Secretary, Santiago Avila Gomez, who will assist in providing technical support. Our first agenda item is to approve the meeting minutes from September 4th. May I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Board Member Flores? Vote? Oh, no, can you vote? Board Member Lightstone. I also approve the minutes from September 4th are approved. Our next agenda item is the chair's report. I have a few updates for you today. So one, I am very pleased to share that we had some turnover in our adjudicatory unit. However, as of last week, we have now onboarded two retired annuitants who are going to help with case matters, and I anticipate some matters will be getting started up again by the end of the month. Also, I'm pleased to share that we hired a supervising administrative law judge, Miles Lockyer, who will be starting in November. So that's wonderful. I'm really excited. He is a very well-known attorney and expert in the wage and hour and employment law space, and actually has served for the board in the past. When he was a young attorney, he worked in the general counsel's office in the 80s. And then more recently, he briefly served as a ALJ in 2015, 2016 timeframe here with the board. So we're excited at his interest and for him to come on board, and we're going to be starting to go through some other administrative law judge interviews to get that team built back up. So very exciting things. I also, so that was a very exciting update. Want to share a couple of updates about some things going on behind the scenes. One, as many of you know, the state's economic picture is we are in a more restrictive budget environment, and as a result of that, the Department of Finance has asked agencies to do several exercises, including cutting some positions as well as reducing costs, which for many agencies such as ourselves, that has meant freezing certain vacancies. The silver lining is the state is not doing layoffs, we are not doing furloughs or salary reductions, but we are having to freeze some of those vacancies in order to develop savings. And so the bulk of those have come from our admin unit. Well, all the units have had some freezes, but or will have some freezes here, but the bulk of those are in the general counsel's program. And so I just want to acknowledge that. I want to thank Julie as well as our administrative staff who have really worked with us to try, none of these are easy decisions. They're very tough, and we've really tried to be strategic about it as much as possible, but it's still a challenge. And so I just want to thank the general counsel, the regional directors, and our admin team for their partnership as we make those decisions, and just acknowledge that for the board as well as our staff. We do know that this will result in having to shift priorities about about work. And so, just want to acknowledge that. And I know that's a challenge for everyone. Additionally, we are currently recruiting for a new Chief of Administrative Services. That posting is up and closes at the end of this month. Also, we have had kind of a stop and start, but a renewed push on providing feedback to our vendor to provide some changes to eCourt. This will result in changes both on the back end internally in terms of case management, the kinds of reports that we're able to run, as well as externally to eventually lead to a more user-friendly public portal that will improve both electronic filing of charges to the extent people do that, and also e-filing related to case matters. And I really want to pause and thank Satya, Audrey, well, thank all the staff. We have a number of staff on the board side and in the general counsel program who are giving their time to provide their input so we can make the system work. It's not the most fun job, I'll venture to say, but it's really critical to get this right. And so I really appreciate that time that people are giving in that input. It's been very valuable. And I want to particularly acknowledge Satya, Audrey, and Santiago for putting everything together, trying to keep us on track. And it's been really, really helpful to me and to this effort. And I just want to acknowledge that. Also, we have a lot going on with the Rural Strategic Engagement Project. This was a budget change proposal that was passed in July that gives ALRB, DIR, and DIR numerous resources to pursue 3 initiatives, which are primarily, one, do a very robust cross-training program for all the staff that serve the farm worker population. For ALRB, that's all of us. And it's also staff within the Labor Commissioner's Office, Cal OSHA, Division of Workers' Compensation, and EDD. ALRB is the lead agency on finding that eventual vendor, and we've been working in a variety of work groups on this, and a number of staff, again, on the board, Michaela and I, and then numerous staff in the regions, including our regional directors, Julie, our outreach manager, as well as other staff that have been participating. And that's also taking a lot of time, as it's a pretty large effort, but it's very exciting. And there are other efforts that include developing these one-stop shops where workers, we will partner with community-based organizations in areas where we may not have state offices, but where there are kind of a quorum of farm workers, and provide services to them. And we've been participating. We've been doing that as the ALRB, and participating as well as in the model that the Labor Commissioner's Office started in Santa Maria, and we're hoping to build that out. And then also developing a more robust referral system. And we also have a variety of monies for more outreach materials to better reach these workers and better communicate what we're doing. And want to give a special shout out to Michaela, who's really been in the trenches with me as we navigate how to maximize these resources. Also Cynthia, who's been board member Flores, who's been a valuable partner on some of the cross-training efforts as well. So a lot of work going on behind the scenes, and you'll be hearing more about that, including we're going to be surveying staff across these agencies in the coming months to provide input to inform the curriculum. This is really something where we want to help our staff that are dealing with farm workers, serving that population day in and day out, arm them with the information that they think they need, that they think will most help them do their job and kind of reduce some of the challenges and frustrations that they may have in order to provide the level of service that I think we all wish to provide to our farm worker population. So more information on that. That survey is going to be really valuable, and we really want to hear from you. So we'll be sharing that when that comes out. Additionally, we had some staff out in the field, some headquarters staff, and as well as some of our regional staff. And I want to thank several agricultural partners, Good Farms in the Oxnard area and Turp Canyon, a cannabis cultivator, for hosting our staff and board member Flores in this past week. We're really, really appreciative of their time and their receptiveness to letting us learn more about their operations, and so that we can better understand and inform the work that we do, and really, really appreciate that. And lastly, I want to take a minute to honor the beginning of National Hispanic Heritage Month. This started on September 15th and goes through October 15th. As we know, our agency is the only agency in the state that only serves farm workers, and 96% of our farm worker community in California are members of a Hispanic or Latino group, and 80% of these workers are from Mexico. So during this month, we take the time to kind of celebrate this workforce, their achievements and contributions to our state in many ways, including helping establish this agency. So thank you for that. That concludes the chair's report. Our next agenda item is the executive officer's report on elections, unfair labor practice complaints, and hearings presented by Santiago.
Thank you, and good morning again, Chair Hasid and members of the board. Today's report is very brief. There's 2 items. The report is also available in written form on our website under the meetings tab. Turning to administrative orders that issued since my last report to the board. On August 21st, ALRB admin order number 2024-27 was released, and that was an order releasing the board's decision in Cedar Grove Farms, Inc. to the regional director for compliance, and that involved the board's decision in 48 ALRB number 2, case number 2017 CE-008-FAL. And turning to pending matters, was DMB Packing Corp. doing business as the Damari Company. That involves the majority support petition 2023 RM001 VIS, and that one is pending a board decision. That concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Santiago. Next, we have the litigation report. Todd, do we have any updates?
Yes, thank you. A few updates to report regarding the pending litigation in Kern County involving agricultural employer Wonderful Nurseries. The board and the UFW had separately filed appeals from the order granting the employer's motion for preliminary injunction. The ALRB's appeal is designated as F088515, and this is pending in the 5th District Court of Appeal. On August 12th, the board filed a petition for writ of supersedeas seeking to stay the order pending appeal. The UFW in its appeal, which is currently designated as F088520, filed a similar petition on August 13th. There is a joint motion pending, which was filed on Monday, the 17th, yesterday, the 17th, to consolidate the appeals. And that motion also proposes to make Wonderful's opposition to the petitions due on October 7th. Separately, the board and UFW have each also separately filed petitions for writ of mandate, seeking review of the Superior Court's order overruling their demurs on jurisdictional grounds. The board's petition is designated as case number F088632. The UFW's petition, the ALRB's petition was filed on the 12th. Again, the UFW's petition was filed on the 13th and is designated as case number F088639. And the employer's preliminary opposition to each of those petitions is due on September 23rd, and replies could be filed 10 days later after that. And finally, in the Superior Court matter, case 24-101-649. The board's and UFW's answers to the complaint currently are scheduled as due on October 4th. So that's the roundup.
Thank you.
Can you turn up the volume?
Oh, yeah.
Just a minute, just one notch. Thank you.
Okay, next we have the general counsel's report with our general counsel, Julie Montgomery. Julie?
Good morning, Chair Hasid, members of the board. I will start off with a settlement and then just do a very short synopsis of all the wonderful outreach work that our staff has been doing. First, we have a settlement out of our Region 2, which includes our Visalia and Indio and Santa Rosa offices. And for LT Farm Incorporated, which is a lettuce harvester in Kern County. I'm sorry, a lettuce production operation in Kern County. And a lettuce harvester filed a charge against that company at the very end of October of 2023, alleging that LT Farm had retaliated against the charging party and others by terminating them because they engaged in protected activity when they complained about the company's failure to pay workers all of their wages, and also regarding an assault on the charging party. The parties entered into a settlement agreement in early September, early this month, in which LT Farm agreed to pay $2,432 to 2 workers for back pay and interest and taxes. And the company also agreed to our standard noticing remedies. So I want to give kudos to our team in Region 2 that was able to very quickly investigate and settle that matter. And it was just a few, in less than a year. So thank you. Also, we have had a number of presentations and staff have been attending a lot of outreach events. There were a lot that went on in the last week of August for Labor Rights Week, but even beyond that, they've continued to be out there. So I have so many events that I'm just going to give you a really short rundown. First of all, we did a number of Facebook Live and radio events, including as part of Labor Rights Week in San Francisco, through the San Francisco Mexican Consulate, Oxnard Mexican Consulate, Fresno, and Sacramento. In addition, we had staff appear on a radio podcast called Raiz Indígena, which was through the Ventura County Farm Worker Resource Program, which I understand we're going to have a panel on this afternoon on that resource program. We also had staff at a number of live presentations, including at the consulates in San Francisco, San Jose, Calexico, San Diego, and El Centro. And we also were distributing materials and tabling in multiple areas, including McFarland and Visalia and Selma, which are in the Region 2 Central Valley area, Woodland, which is in Yolo County near Sacramento, Watsonville, which is on the Central Coast in Region 1, and then also in Coachella and Indio down in our southern region by our Indio office. And then we also had staff conducting office hours in Santa Paula, which is in rural eastern Ventura County, and in Santa Maria in northern Santa Barbara County. And then I want to have our regional directors just briefly highlight a couple of things that their staff were busy with during the past couple of weeks, or I think maybe it was just last week, that are pretty exciting. So first of all, I'm going to turn it over to Yesenia DeLuna, our Region 2 Region Director. She's going to talk about a training that she and a staff member did for staff of CBDIO, which is Centro Binacional del Desarrollo Indígena, I think hopefully I got that right, in the Central Valley. So go ahead, Yesenia.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Chair Hasid and members of the board. So yes, this was a week ago, and Field Examiner 3, Veronica Cervantes, and TCES Lucia Vasquez and I conducted a training to CBDIO, that specifically their staff from their Fresno and Madera offices. This was an in-person 2-hour training for the staff. They asked us to focus on retaliation, which we did. There was about 20 of their staff members there from both of those offices. And the training went, it was amazing. It was really good training from the very beginning, maybe like the third slide or something. There was like just constant interaction, questions, and talking about the subject of each slide. And we were able to provide ample examples of, between Veronica, who's been with the agency for about 15, 16 years, and my years with the agency, we were just able to really explain and then show like examples of how we see retaliation or PCA in the cases that we investigate. They would like us to come back and do an even more in-depth training with them. So we'll see what that looks like. And then they were very open to, getting together workers so that we could, talk to workers about their rights under the Act. Thank you.
Awesome.
Jessica?
Thank you.
Yeah, and Jessica's going to talk about, well, you go ahead. You can tell them what you're going to talk about.
Okay, good morning, Chair Hasid and board members and staff. Wanted to briefly touch base on what Victoria mentioned about the Santa Maria. There was a the Labor Commissioner's Office held their monthly wage clinic that they hold at a church on a weekday evening, and our attorney Yesenia Pulido attends. So board staff and as well as board member Flores, I think, joined them for that clinic that they held in Santa Maria. And then the following day, they toured a cannabis operation in San Luis Obispo. And then down here in Oxnard, we had a tour of one of the good farms through an initiative, the Equitable Food Initiative program was there, as well as the director of EDD and board member Flores, myself, and staff from the GCN board side. So we toured the farm, learned about the Equitable Food Initiative and how it's being used at this Good Farms strawberry operation in Oxnard. They have some very technologically advanced tools that they use out in the field. One that does some bug vacuuming that we got to see. And they also have a table type harvesting machine that we've seen these in the fields here. They have some that are 100% electric, that are solar powered, and they also use UV lights onto the crops in the ground. So that was something I hadn't seen before, and it was a great opportunity to learn more about the different components of the Equitable Food Initiative, which one of the strongest components is farm worker participation. So they have a committee that they've developed on site that meets together with the Management and Equitable Food Initiative staff to talk about different concerns and ways to solve problems at the work site. And about 7 workers were present with the meeting, so we were able to hear from them directly as well. On the same day, Oxnard staff participated in a labor caravan press conference to start the day off that was held at Oxnard's Plaza Park with the Labor Commissioner's Office, with MyCop, Cal OSHA, and EDD. And then from there, they did a caravan through some of the areas in our county in Ventura and Oxnard that where more of the fields are located. As part of that, there was also a tabling event at a food distribution where staff talked to hundreds of workers, passed out some packets that we're now putting together in Ziploc bags with certain pamphlets that we're able to give them with the food distribution package. And then one more radio program that one of our field examiners and our TCES in Salinas participated in Spanish as well. That's my report. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you both. Thanks to the teams for doing all that. That's great. Okay. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you, Julie, and to our regional directors. Appreciate it. We do not have an administrative services report or legislative report today. So our next agenda item is the regulations report from our regulatory subcommittee on the proposed AB 113 regulations. Barry, are you kicking us off or is Todd?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm gonna do it. Good morning, everyone, and you have before you a memorandum or a report that we prepared explaining the changes that we have proposed and the actions that we recommend. These are based on comments that we received that closed on July 22nd. I'm not gonna go over this, change by change by change. The report speaks for itself. I will say that a significant number of these changes are technical, and there was also a number of, we have to recommend, we have to respond to the comments. So there are some in the report, you'll see there are some things, ideas for changes in the regulations that we rejected. Substantively, we primarily recommend changes in two areas. First, in the process of resolving eligibility disputes through investigation of the regional director and then appeals from by a labor organization that feels that there are mistakes made or objections that that the employer might want to make to decisions that were made regarding eligibility or actually anything else they want to object to. Also, we develop a process by which unions can raise objections requesting that the board agree to impose the remedy available under subsection 1137 1156.37J, the J objection. So there is a sort of when objections are filed by the employer, at the same time, a union can file an objection requesting imposition of the J remedy. And that is pretty much what we have proposed, and we'll sort of open it up, I guess, for questions and public comment if there is any.
I had a couple of points. One, I just want to express very sincere gratitude to our regulatory subcommittee, all of our staff, our board councils, particularly Todd, who I know have worked really hard to update these regulations and craft something. I know it's been a really major project, probably more than when we first signed up for the regular, were voluntold on the regulatory subcommittee. So I'm very, very appreciative of the time and effort that you have all put in to this. I had two very, 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 I think, minor things. In proposed 20287.5A, this is the provisions related to the settlement bond. Say, where is it?
In the printout, I'm not seeing that number.
I'm not seeing it either.
Is that one we didn't change in this?
297?
Maybe it was 9.7.
It's 9.7.
Okay.
That was 20297.5,
Okay.
which is
Do you know what
the cash
page of the
deposits.
report that's on?
Well, the text is on page 9 of the text.
Yeah, all right. Basically, we're talking about what we will accept as payment, and we say. We use the term, why can't I find this? Okay, 20297.5. A, so it says also includes the cash equivalent forms of payment such as checks, cashier's checks, and money orders. I wasn't sure if we wanted to provide for just regular checks, given the amounts provided. Do we want to say we will just take a regular check or only cashier's checks and money orders?
Well, first of all,
Just because for the guarantee.
just to say, this wasn't that issue, that didn't change from our prior thing. So that's something this particular issue, we kind of resolved a while
Okay.
back. So, and so I would have to reach back into my faltering memory. Our general view, I think at the time, that we decided, this was several months ago, was that we should be, we felt in the modern age of financial transactions that we, didn't want to be too limiting about it, and that nowadays that these things, I mean, if the check bounces, then they haven't,
Then, yeah.
they can't get the bond, right? So, and it may be that the way they do it depends on the side. You may not be easy to, if the bond is a giant amount of money, that, a personal check might not be, the bank might not accept it.
Yeah.
And they might say, well, if you're gonna do this, you need XYZ, and they're free as the outside entities to kind of impose that, on the transaction. But we wanted to be basically open about it.
Well,
So
Okay.
are you saying that we don't allow regular checks, or we do?
I was saying, do we want to allow regular checks?
Well, as I'm reading, I'm just pulling this up, 20297.5. As I'm reading the last sentence there, it says, versus this section, cash means, and it includes payments such as checks, cashier's checks, and money orders.
Yeah, so I was wondering if we want to say that does include checks,
But
because,
it says checks, doesn't
yeah, I'm wondering if we should.
she's thinking maybe we shouldn't.
it? Oh, you're saying we shouldn't
Yeah,
accept regular.
But
Gotcha,
Barry makes a
that's what I
good
want.
point about if the check doesn't actually cash, then they haven't effectuated the bond and.
Right.
And I think these days also,
Okay. Yeah,
now, if you go write a personal check at a retailer, for example, they run it through their cash machine and hand the check right back to you and say, okay. Because there's instant verification.
and Target
what
won't
they-
even take them.
Yeah, and some places won't take them, but we didn't want to, we didn't necessarily want to encourage, for safety reasons, or limit cash in lieu of a bond to carrying them around large amounts of cash. Walking, it's not safe necessarily for the people doing it, it's not safe for our staff transporting it, and sometimes it's a headache to actually walk into a bank with a bag of cash. It's just not the easiest thing. There's just all these other ways to move money around that are secure and safe. So that was our view.
Okay, sounds good. That was it. That was my minor thing. I don't know if any of my other colleagues have questions or comments. Cynthia.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Again, super grateful for all of the work that the committee and board council has done on the regulation packet. I think I also have something that's just a very small kind of comment and question. And in reviewing the template authorization card format, and I know the regulation just contemplates the format itself, but I did want to hear if there were any thoughts about what would be the impact, if any, of a card that was turned in with one or more of the employee information fields being left blank. So for example, if an employee did not have an email address to provide or refused to provide their telephone number, I know we've had conversations about, the certain sensitivity with being able to ask and also get access to personal information, given that there may be some distrust of our agency, government agencies in general, et cetera. So I wanted to know if folks had considered whether there would be an impact or anything of that kind of consideration.
Yeah, Cynthia, I think the answer to that question would be the card is not invalidated because there's missing information. In other words, there's no rule that says if you don't put your email address, your card doesn't count. If there's enough missing information that raises a question of representation, that is, who is this person? Did they work for the employer during the appropriate period? Missing information of the card might trigger an investigation by the regional director or a challenge by one of the parties that there was an issue with a person that signed an authorization. So that would, I think, be, in my understanding, would be subsumed into the investigation that the regional director would do in the initial 5-day investigation period after the cards were submitted.
I think that makes sense to me. I wouldn't think. I think the actual statutory language also talks about, maybe I'm conflating this with how you identify people, but if there's errors with certain names, you're not gonna DQ a card. So I think the most important thing is being able, can we identify this person? And that they signed this, and if something like the signature, or excuse me, the email or telephone number is missing, I wouldn't think that would DQ it.
Thank you. That's my impression as well, or the way that I would interpret it as well.
Should we add a sentence to the report, sort of affirming that,
Sure. Yeah. If you think that
sort of
helps
clarifying that
Yeah,
substantial compliance discretion exists?
Yeah. Any other comments from my colleagues on the board? Opening it up to public comment, including with our staff. Does anyone have any comments or questions about the proposed regulations? Santiago, do we have anyone in the queue?
No, at this time, no one has indicated a wish to provide public comment. I'm looking in the chat, no one there, and I don't see any hands up.
Okay,
Oh, I have one.
Santiago?
Oh, I went on mute. Sorry about that. Regional Director DeLuna would like to make a comment.
Yesenia?
Yes, thank you. Good morning again. My comment is in regards to this section 20391 subsection A4, the notice to agricultural employees. In the subcommittee report section on assistance completing authorization cards petitions, The committee recognizes that such assistance may be necessary in light of the language and literacy challenges that exist among the farm worker population. And this is precisely why we contend that verbal noticing is necessary. We acknowledge the committee's concern of the possibility of these readings being subjected to abuse or manipulation by the parties, as well as the logistical requirements involved. We would be supportive of just a verbal notice, with no question and answer section. As to the logistical requirements, I would like to point out that in a secret ballot election, the regional staff conducts not one, but 2 notices to the agricultural workers. So the regional staff is well equipped to conduct a reading of the notice to support farm workers in the free exercise of their rights under the act. One more comment on there is a small discrepancy in same section 2391 subsection C2 and states that after the 30-day cure period, there will be 2 days for the regional director to make a determination. And then subsection C4 big D states 5 days after the cure period, the determination needs to be made. So one says 2 days, the other one says 5 days.
Does Todd have a response to that?
I can respond about the perceived
Yeah.
discrepancy is that in subdivision C2, this is the time to finalize the tally after the cure period. And then subdivision C4 is specific to when there are eligibility disputes at play. And whether the resolution of eligibility disputes is necessary, in which that subdivision provides for 5 days after the close of the cure period in order to just allow additional time for the resolution of those. So the entire structure under subdivision C4 is when there are eligibility disputes that are factored in.
So Todd, we're giving them more time when there are eligibility disputes, is that?
That's how it's structured.
Okay. Thank you for that. Any questions or comments from any other members of the public?
I think we should point out that if we take action this morning to move forward, there will be another comment period under the Administrative Procedure Act.
If we take action,
Yes,
if we make a change, or if
Oh,
we
no,
just
if we-
accept?
Either.
either.
Either, so no matter what, there's another comment period.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think then, we're at a place where, I entertain a motion to approve the proposed regulations as proposed. May I have a motion?
Yeah, I move to adopt the regulations and for there to be, or the proposal, and for there to be a 15-day comment period.
Okay.
And can I add to that before we vote on it? That that we'll add a sentence explaining the question about how to address a blank line in the card,
Yeah, okay,
In the regulation or
in the report,
In the report, okay.
all right,
I'll accept that as a friendly amendment.
okay. And Member Flores, were you making a, Thank you. All right, Board Member Hall,
Aye.
Board Member Lightstone.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. As well, yes. Hoping you made with the motion made. So the regulatory package will move forward and hopefully that will be our last comment period.
Well, but there will be, I want to emphasize that if stakeholders have comments to make, they will have a 15-day period to file written comments.
Okay. And then I also want to thank everyone, the employers, our staff, unions and other labor organizations, for providing comments to the regulations. It's very helpful. And I know it's a really important, critical part of the process, and we're really appreciative of that. So thank you. Moving on, we are now, we'll go into public comment. Those who wish to make a public comment can indicate you wish to do so in several ways. You can use the raise hand function or send a message in the chat. Please note the chat's only to communicate with our staff that you wish to make a comment. Please share your name and organization if applicable. And as a reminder, the board cannot comment or discuss or entertain any discussion on any pending case matters. Santiago, do we have anyone wishing to make public comment?
At this time, no chat or hands visible.
Okay, all right, not seeing anyone wishing to make public comment, the board will now recess into closed session. And for our board members, given the time, why don't we take a 5-minute break? And then we'll go into our closed session. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
Everyone's admitted and we're now recording.
Good morning. It is 11:25 a.m. and the board has returned from closed session. Our next agenda item is announcements. We have a regional directors meeting with a informational panel hearing about the pilot program for the California Farm Worker Resource Centers. So we'll be hearing from Monterey, Santa Barbara, and Stanislaus counties, and then also from Ventura County, who has the model program that was developed, including given input by our own staff. So I'm really excited about that presentation. And then our next regular board meeting is Wednesday. I can't believe we're in October already, October 2nd at 10 a.m. And that concludes today's meeting. Good to see our friends in LA. Take care.
Bye.
See you later.